Welcome back into the Sports Source. This segment brought to you by Parkside Cabin Rentals. Fall is here. Leaves in the Smokies will be changing soon. What better time to rent your own place in Sevier County? Your own place in Sevier County. Parkside Cabin Rentals has more cabins, floor plans, and better prices than anyone else, especially for your weekday stays. Look at them for those weekday stays. ParksideCabinRentals.com to learn more. All right. This segment, we call it Progress Report, but it's week one, so there's not much progress we could talk about. So we're kind of looking at just overall things that we might have noticed or liked. And Daniel, you mentioned to me after the game that there was something you picked up on watching these running backs.
There was. I think Tennessee's identity is wanting to be a running football team. So how do you teach your running backs in order to read the defense correctly and to make the right plays on that? You'll notice on an inside zone where your running backs are going to get a yard or two away from the line, and then you're going to see a shuffle step. And what that shuffle step's there to do is so that they can take their vision and read the safeties. What they're trying to do is to make the safety come down and commit to a side, and then they can skirt out the other side. And so you'll start seeing that little shuffle step on each side to see where he's reading. Safety comes down backside, boom, we're running front side. Safety comes down front side, he's going to turn around and shoot out the back door, which is where Small had a bunch of big runs this game. And all that's set up by the offensive line techniques that you're seeing. This isn't going to be, the 90s or early 2000s offensive lines that are going to come downhill, punch you in the face. This is I want to get my body in front of you so that defensive lineman's behind. So when it's in the inside zone, you're going to see a quick little lateral step. You'll see the offensive lineman shift their hips. They're doing this for two reasons. One, to buy time for that running back to see those zones. And then the most important part is Tennessee wants to play fast. They're trying to play even faster than what they were last year, where they averaged a play every, 14, 16 seconds. This year they want to be sub 10. And the way that you do that is you keep your offensive line within 2 to 3 yards of the line of scrimmage. And so those two little things combined help Tennessee have a successful day rushing the football.
Very good, man. I appreciate it. So running back vision, kind of the header for that, but
yeah,
description. Thank you.
And you can see that they're exactly where they're looking at, because there was a play that I think it was Wright got hit in the backfield by the backside corner, which is who you're counting to never make that play, and it kind of shocked him. He's like, oh, I didn't think that guy was
going to be there. Yeah.
And so, but he bounced off of it, continued for a 7-yard run.
All right, very good. We also have Sterling Hinton in this segment, and we can go to Sterling now, I guess. There we go. Josh is also going to be in this segment, so Josh can stand there and watch. Sterling, Hendon Hooker had some passes, get away from a little high. It might have been first game issues, but he had some plays where the ball took off and sailed a little bit. How can you adjust that as a quarterback just with stance and footwork?
Well, it's amazing. So many things go into getting that ball placed in the proper part of a receiver's body. It's not just the strong arm. A lot of it has to do with footwork. And unfortunately, a lot of times quarterbacks, with the sparks flying and people coming at us that don't like us, they want to hurt us and make sure we get put on the ground, you get to rush things. And when you rush, you have a propensity to just extend that foot out a little bit further. Now, if you keep your body compact and you get on top of that foot, easy arm up, weight transfer, and a lot of times you can point your shoulder and get that ball right to the target you want to get to. Sometimes when the sparks are flying and you do this, you extend that foot out a little bit longer, you get that elbow down, the ball goes high. The ball goes high. You find out quarterbacks at all levels do this, from Pee Wee League, college to NFL. The great ones, from the Sterling Hendons who weren't that great to the Tom Brady's are doing things. I'm saying this because it's just unfortunate it happens. But when you stay compact and you got your eye on the target and you point that shoulder and you step to that target and you stay within maybe 3 inches of your shoulders, you get on top of that weight transfer, you get that ball where you want to get out, you get high over your shoulder pass, there's a high probability that ball's going to go exactly where you want it to go. Now, if you looked at a guy like a Dan Marino who got that thing out there so fast, and sometimes you wouldn't want to teach a young guy to throw like Marino, but you want to have a young guy have the success he's had. So, it's a difference. So, unfortunately, you step high, you get that elongated step. When you're pointing to throw the ball has a propensity to go higher. Now, I want to break down this one thing, Josh. Real quick. When you saw our guy Joe Milton get in the game, he checked down, and you saw him go from 1 to 2 to 3, and he hit that running back in the flat that got a nice gain after the catch. Great footwork, great pass, and I promise you, Hinton will hit a lot more passes than he missed.
Very good. Sterling Hinton, thank you very much for that. And we will, let me get Sterling to step off set here so we can get a camera shot of Josh, because we want to talk to Josh Ward, who always does the stats that mattered in this game. And Josh, there were a couple of stats that you saw that you want to keep an eye on moving forward.
Yeah, on each side of the ball, and we're trying to figure out, okay, what do we take away from a game against Ball State? We'll start on the defensive side. And this is the kind of game where you know you're going up against an inferior opponent. Tennessee did not record a sack on Thursday night against Ball State. If you look at last year's 13 games, Tennessee recorded at least one sack in every game, multiple sacks in 11 of those 13 games. They didn't get one against Ball State. Now, we should point out that Ball State offensively designs everything around getting the ball out quickly, quick passing, knowing that Tennessee is going to be bringing pass rushers. But I also imagine this is the kind of game Ball State comes to town. Look at some of the group of 5 non-conference teams last year. Tennessee's defenders probably said, let's get some numbers in this kind of game. I'm sure that that's what some defensive linemen that we'll hear from later will point out. They didn't on Thursday. They'll try to get after Keaton Slovis this upcoming week. The other stat that will matter will be on the offensive side. And if you look at what Jabari Small did, and you heard what Daniel was talking about just a moment ago, and Jalen Wright, individually, they were okay. But as a team, rushing the football, they were actually below last year's average for the season and against non-Power 5 opponents in yards per attempt. Last year against Pitt, Tennessee had a difficult time from the running back position running with success. They dealt with injuries in those games, but it's something to pay attention to. A couple of qualifiers, they did have 4 touchdown runs of 3 yards or less against Ball State on Thursday. So those were runs where the average came down, but the result is what they needed. But it's something that will matter this week against Pittsburgh.
Very good, Josh. I appreciate it. Also, that's, we have to also factor in, I know you thought this, I threw that number to you. Hooker didn't carry it as much as he probably will moving forward, which could be some longer runs there. But still, when you're a half yard under what your average was against similar to better foes last year, it's worth watching. When we come back, let's talk about what we saw from the Vols offense in Game 1 and how they'll do against Pittsburgh. How Josh Heupel's offense has done against Pat Narduzzi's defense. We'll compare that because he's played 47 games against other people, 3 against Narduzzi. Let's look at the numbers. Does Narduzzi have a little cheat code at all? We'll show you next. Come on back.